Okay, so here we are again. I've gotten some key poses blocked in. Now you can obviously spend a little more time than I have on tweaking these to get them just how you want them. But what happens here at the moment is he throws and it's just a dead stop. And so we want to be putting in what's known as the follow through to make the action look a little more natural. So the follow through is like the build up, it's going to last for a lot longer than the actual action itself. So let's start with our pelvis control again. And we're just going to add in a bit of a relaxed version of our hyperextended throw. So we're just going to pull that around, have the arm dropping down a bit. At the moment, the last pose there is actually coming in a little too soon for my liking, so I'm just going to shift select everything and then shift select the keyframe and drag it out a little bit so it lasts a little longer. Okay, and then you just go in and keep tweaking those keyframes until you find a result that you're happy with. So, I mean, this could take quite a while. I'm obviously doing this quite quickly. And I don't like that backwards movement, so I'm just going to bring it forward a little. Now, what you can do after you set in these key poses is actually working back, and I think here I actually want to really overemphasize this twist and bring the entire body round a little bit more. And I'm going to just go ahead and keep this rolling while I keep tweaking these animated poses, because this is a very time-consuming task and it's all about just tweaking little parts at a time until you get these key poses to what you want. Okay, so I've gotten some key poses laid down. It could use a little more work, but we're going to keep moving on just to show you through the ropes. Okay, so I'm going to go back and turn on my NURBS curve so I can see my rig again. And we're going to start adding in more of the in-between poses. So we want, after this massive lunge forward, we want him to his center of gravity to kind of drop down a little. And so we're going to do that there, so he kind of drops down and then a bit more of a recovery. And we want him to follow through a little bit. So even after that, his foot might come off the ground completely. So we'll shift that keyframe along, and then that might actually be the toe rolls right forward. And then over here we might actually pull the foot forward down, pull the foot forward, zero out these and drop it back to the ground so that we can get a bit of overlapping foot motion in here. And now what we need to do is actually pull his center of gravity forward. So we want him to be off balance here, giving him more reason to pull that leg forward. And we want him to continue in that motion here. So we're going to pull that even further along. Probably don't want it to be rotated out anymore. In these in-between poses, you'll start to offset your keyframes as well once these start going in. And we'll notice that the up movement here needs to be a lot more drastic because we need to look like he's pushing himself off balance. So we're going to send him right forward, leaning over. And here we're going to add in a bit of rotation. It makes him look like he's kind of almost tripped a bit and then has to recover. We'll pull that key pose back a bit. And so you'll spend a lot of time actually just watching through your animation just to pick up what you want to be doing next. We want to actually have him shift his weight right over to this foot here and then fall back down, kind of doing a bit of a stumble here. And then correcting himself again at the end. Okay, so we're still getting this kind of odd movement at the end, which, I mean, at later stages you'd actually continue to animate after that point, but for keeping this tutorial simple, we're just going to smooth out those curves and make it so it's not such a sudden halt. And we'll probably even just drag that out a little bit as well. Okay, now we need to look at the top of the body a little more so that it so that you get this nice countering movement with what's going on in the lower half. So we're going to stretch that right out and also just change its movement a little bit. So that's our hyperextension there. And here we want that hyperextension to really overbalance him, and then the correction. So if you play that through, seeing that you're starting to build up the flowing motion that you'll need to throw an object. There's still quite a bit clunky around the later part of the throw, but this is something that you just have to keep on working at until you find something. So if we pull the shoulder back a little here, then we actually get to rotate it more at the end.